I expect this to be one of my worst videos just because I'm tired. But it's something I really wanted to talk about, so I don't expect it to be particularly long. It's just with me, if something's on my mind or I feel something needs to be addressed, I'll talk about it, whether it's a short video, whether it's a long video. Now, I can't talk about every single issue in the world. There's just too much chaos that it just happens, so you get tired. I find this existence overwhelming sometimes. It's just all the time negativity. And the truth always comes out when there's accusations against people. Now, obviously, everyone's at varying ages. Some people have grown up with the media having an awful lot of power. And it's something I've absolutely hated throughout my life. And I've spoke about it in, I think it was Heal Your Mind to Free Your Soul. It's either Heal Your Mind to Free Your Soul or Inspire Your Mind to Enlighten Your Soul. I addressed it briefly in there, where I absolutely despise journalists, for the most part, because they just ruin lives unnecessarily just for a headline. There's a lot of news stories that could easily be told without using someone's name and tainting their entire image. It's a bit different if it's factual and someone's maybe in court and they've been found guilty and all evidence point that, there's no corruption. Then that's a different level. Okay, now we can tell the story. I think telling the story of someone and an accusation without the facts, I think is incredibly dangerous and it's reckless. And people's lives get ruined and it's really hard to repair a reputation. And yet I find that these journalists, they get away scot-free. They can ruin a life and they just continue doing their job. That's ridiculous. And they call it the free press. It's like, nah, you arseholes. You arseholes. So I would have, in my life, I would have a deep mistrust. I wouldn't trust them. Because I'd always know that with a journalist, you might have a good vibe with them. You might be bouncing off, wow. You might just think, this is nice. You seem honest. You seem fair. But really, they've always got an agenda. So you could talk to someone incredibly frankly, and they could twist your words. To put into context there, I had a job. I was only very briefly. The person who was the supervisor, they were foreign, and they wanted a lot of foreign workers around them. I didn't have an issue with the foreign workers. I just got on well with whoever. And I know this is not media related, but I just want to show the angles that people can go to, how manipulative it is, and even spiteful. So I got all the work done and I was efficient. I'm someone that's a quick thinker. So I always find faster ways to finish a process and I'll get it done. Of course, if you looks like you're doing nothing, some people that like to look productive, they get annoyed. So I had a supervisor who was annoyed that I wasn't doing anything. So they said, well, why are you not doing this? And we had to feed these the machines effectively, this template where we had to put parts into this template. And then the people who build the apparatus, they're the ones that have to do it. So you have different people doing different jobs. I was going too fast for them because, of course, it's easier for me to put the items in than them to put it to function or to put it together. So there was no space to do anymore. So they said, well, okay, so why don't you replenish the stock and stop? I've already done that. So I had an answer for everything, but I wasn't doing it to be like up myself or anything. It was just literally, I've done it. I'm productive. I've finished. I'm waiting now. Anyway, so they started talking to me about personal things like what do you do, what have you done? And I just mentioned the fact that I'd done a university course, and I can't remember if at that point I'd started writing my books. I don't know if I did, but anyway, I was telling them about that, some things that were going on in my life, and it was deeply personal things, And you think, they were acting like they was interested in talking because you just think you're having a frank conversation. There's no bitterness. And then they just switched up immediately. And it reminds me of a journalist. So you've gone from like being vulnerable to them just turning around and be like sharp as anything with like no expression, no emotion. What are you doing here then? And I thought, like, don't test me, mother. With me, I can bite back fast. I can bite back just as much as someone tries to bite at me. That's the thing with me. So I can be really kind, really, really friendly, but I can switch just as quick as other people can, So like if I feel offended, switch. And I won't, no, it won't get a second chance with me. That's the thing with me. But that in itself is exactly what journalists are like. And I despise the media in that sense with every ounce of my being. Because I don't, for someone to choose to ruin someone's life just to get a step up in a career or earn some extra money. Is it really worth it? And it goes even further than that. If you go beyond the journalist, there's people that will take people out. Like we've seen. So we're talking addressing Michael Jackson. We've actually got it here, haven't we, in the title? But there are suggestions that Michael Jackson was actually taken out because of a contract dispute with Sony. Now, I don't know how true that is, but let's be honest. Most of us have heard and seen or know of situations that are incredibly bad, you know. So what I would say is, although we can't be sure that is what happened, I would say there's an awful lot of people that wouldn't be surprised. And I think that's the part that's scary. The fact that we know that powerful people are capable of doing some nefarious things. How sad as a society is that even happens, that it's even possible? Because there's always a monetary value to someone's life. How much are you worth? And how are you worth more dead or alive? They don't actually care about the human being. It's just all about, it's all a transaction. How sick is that? So let's say, I'm not saying that exactly what happened, although I believe there is, I believe there is something connected to that personally. Let's say there is the case. How sad is it that, like, I like Michael Jackson's music, I love Michael Jackson's music, but if you go beyond that, he was a humanitarian, and people will have their own opinions on that, but I believe he was. Someone commented on a video I did earlier on social media, and they said, I believe he's an earth angel, and I said, I do too. So I'd go as far as to say he's beyond a humanitarian. I think he is an earth angel. And some people might not believe in those things either. I do. So if you actually look at his work, a lot of his lyrics, especially further on in his career, like, it's a bit of the middle ground. Like, I loved Heal the World. That's my favorite song. But then you hear another song, you think, that's great. But Heal the World, I usually get goosebumps. That's incredibly healing. You know, it's really raising awareness on the world. And they don't even care about us talking about the establishment. They don't care about the people. And yet we've got to be subordinate to them. It's crazy. And then the Earth song is incredible as well. There is another one that I'm forgetting, because when I saw the videos, because I got these. Oh, I recently got these. Obviously got his music elsewhere as well, but these are like DVDs, so we can watch. This is the live concert. That was incredible watching him then. And then these are the music videos. But watching him in concert, man, I was like, oh, God damn. I'm not someone who's that interested in concerts myself. I don't really like big crowds, like to mingle with big crowds. It gets on my nerves, to be totally honest. But there's certain people or bands where I'd go, I wish I'd been able to go and witness them live. And Michael Jackson's one of them. You know, I really only come across Michael Jackson mid-90s, I think late 90s, 96-ish. I don't know. I think it's about 96 when the Earth song come out. That's really when I took notice of Michael Jackson. Of course, I was aware of him before that. See, I was born in 1983. So he is not 80s, but of course I'm only a child at that age. I'm beginning my teenage years in the mid-90s, you know. Or at least getting there. So that's really when you pick up things, isn't it? So, yeah. I remember Earth Song was quite a pivotal moment. I'm pretty sure I had that on single. Because back in the day, you could buy singles as well. You know, it wasn't just albums. You can go to the store, and it'll be the top charts, and you pick the CD or the cassette tape, and you have that song, and then you have maybe it has a remix or a mixed version included. It's usually about 3 songs, but it could be the same song and just different versions of it. It's pretty cool. Obviously, we don't have that anymore. It's a bit sad. But yeah, if you listen to the lyrics of a lot of these songs, there's deep meaning to it. And then when you watch the music videos, of course, it's deeply impactful, I think, personally. So, yeah. There was something I was going to say there. I can't even remember now. Can't even remember. I said this is probably going to be completely skewed because I'm tired, so my mind isn't going to think as sharp as I usually do. But yeah, when I was watching this, I mean, I'm not an emotionless person, so I don't want that to come across that I am, because I can be stoic, but I can be quite emotional as well with certain things. If something touches my heart, I can literally get really emotional and even cry, like even out of nowhere. And that'll probably shock people because they won't expect it, maybe. But when I've recognized kindness, it touches my soul. And when something touches my soul, it creates an emotion in me. So it's very rare because I find kindness is incredibly rare in this world. You know, I'm not easily deceived or anything like that. I'm not saying I'm right on every topic, so let's not get away from there. But I was watching Michael Jackson perform. I saw how much everybody absolutely loved him. And this is 1992, because it says it on there. It's 1992. And I think it's 1993, roundish time, when he was started getting accused of, doing things to little boys. And I find, so I'm watching the performance. It's pure. I thought quite beautiful, to be totally honest. Someone in their element, someone in their prime, someone with immense gifts. And it's just one of a kind, really. That's what I was thinking. I just thought it's one of a kind, generational, iconic. You don't say that word often with people. There's very few and rare. I always thought Elvis Presley was the best performer, singer, and I've loved his music. But then when you watch Michael Jackson, and he has his own aura, Elvis, for sure. And it's easy to think people that the further back we go, you can revere them a bit more because of, I don't know, because they've been around longer. Their name becomes more legendary. But I have no doubt, as the years go on, decades turn into centuries, I think Michael Jackson will always be remembered. And for me, when you go back and watch him, there's 3 singers I think just stand out like a sore thumb, like incredible. And we've lost all of them. You've got Elvis Presley, you've got Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston. Of course, beyond that, you can go Frank Sinatra, and there's plenty of singers, of course. But for me, they're iconic. Their vocals, everything about them, they're just so crazy good. And it's sad when we lose that. It's generational. Of course, there's people that come after, but so then I watch him performing, and I listen to the lyrics, and I'm just like, bloody hell, we've lost someone special here. And I can't help but think, and as I say, at the very end, because I like Heal the World. And I can't remember if it's Heal the World when I got emotional. It's right at the end. Yeah, it was actually, because it's Heal the World, and then it was Man in the Mirror. And it was round them songs when I was getting quite... In fact, all of them towards the end. You had Black or White, Heal the World, Man in the Mirror. Man in the Mirror on the music video, I thought was quite interesting, because you listen to the words a bit more, I think, when you got a music video as opposed to concert, I guess. But it was talking about the fact that just reflect upon yourself. If you want change in the world, be that change. So he's so inspiring, just even in his lyrics. I just thought, my God, man, he was beautiful. I could get emotional now talking about him. I had a video, I don't know where it is now, and there's only one other singer I actually was in tears for. I was in genuine tears. I don't cry on camera because I want to cry. I don't even know how you make that happen. And that was when I was talking about, I was reflecting upon Avicii, because I've come across his music again, and I just thought what an impact he had on an entire generation. It is a completely different style of music. It's dance music and remixed and whatnot, but he went young too, because some people have a hard time in this world. So Avicii, it seems, had struggled just to traverse this earth with the attention on him and whatever else issues he probably had going on behind the scenes. Michael Jackson dealt with probably some of the worst pressure anyone could be put on in a lifetime. He carried the weight on his shoulders, and yet he was still accountable. He didn't hide. He continued to show up time and time again, even though people are looking at him with dirty eyes. And I personally feel now, upon reflection, back then I was a bit too young. The media does influence you, although my first instinct, even when I was younger, was he's innocent. He's innocent. I never had bad feelings of him. Again, you could say you're naive because you're young. But of course, the media just don't give up, and then they start talking like this is factual. So it does start twisting your head a little bit. You start doubting your initial thoughts. But I'm somewhat, evidence is important, so let's not blind ourselves. But the further I get on my life journey and the more experiences I have, I know my gut feeling for the most part is usually right in very many situations. So, back then I maybe didn't have the experience to know to trust that. So there maybe was a time when I questioned Michael Jackson's integrity and whether he did do things to kids, because on the outside you would say that it's not natural for an adult to spend time around kids you don't know, it's just alone. That raises its questions, and you can understand that when people start flagging it, you're going, wait a minute, yeah, that doesn't add up. But I didn't feel he was bad, and I still don't. And like I say, I think now we see with the Epstein shit, and we see all these powerful people who I'm sure played a part in trying to bring down Michael Jackson. because perhaps he knew too much because he's from the industry. He's been that child star. Everyone's heard about what happens to child stars, or even through the 80s. So when I think he was coming through the late 70s. But who knows what he's experienced? So then he creates Neverland, and it creates a theme park. And again, if you look at it from a negative point of view, you're going to say he is a predator. If you look at it from the other side, you say he's a safe haven. He's trying to protect these children that would potentially be vulnerable and susceptible. Look at the people he's had visited his Neverland. I don't know if you call it a ranch. He's had Corey Feldman, who seems to have an awful lot of issues, and I'm not sure he's got over them. He seems to be managing, but he does seem to go off his rocker a little bit. But people have their own way and what they've experienced. And he's not someone that shies away from speaking up. He spoke up when his life could be at risk, because I've seen it many times with him. The people he raises awareness. So if Michael Jackson had done anything to him, there's no doubt in my mind he would have just raised hell for leather with that. He's always denounced that and said he'd never done anything bad, and he's never witnessed anything bad, and he's never behaved inappropriately. Macaulay Culkin also had a troubled childhood for his father. Maybe not in that sort of direction, but in being like overbearing and controlling his life. And who knows what he's witnessed as a child actor. And he spent time with Michael Jackson. He even features in, it ain't Black or White, is it? Is it Bad? It might be Black or White. I think it's Black or White, isn't it? It's Black or White. There's me. Yeah. Anyway, so Macaulay Culkin even features in his music video. And he says outright, nothing's ever happened. So there's no evidence to suggest that he did. And I believe the kid that accused him in the first place, it was his parents that put him up to it because they wanted to get money out of Michael Jackson. So like all of this really, to say, it affects me when I know someone suffered deeply as an innocent person who literally tried to have a positive impact on the world. And it's just cruel. So if you look at his life, he suffered deeply towards the end. And what I would say is, because I was doing a little bit of research, because I had questions and I was asking. Of course, it's important to do deeper research. But back in the 90s, I think it was, late 90s, he was attacked on stage by Jarvis Cocker from the British group Pulp. They were a breakthrough band. They'd been around the UK for a couple of years at that point. Famous song was Common People. I quite liked a couple of their songs. It was nothing like breakthrough beyond that, only like one or two hits. And Michael Jackson was this mega phenomenal performer, I can't remember where I was going with that. I can't even remember where I was going with that. But I think let's just maybe getting to the point where he's just, that was it. When you do your research on that, it turns out that potentially, again, I'd have to go deeper research. You can't just go by what Google tells you. You need to find articles. You need to go deeper. But if we just go by the glossy side, and I think that's what I'd want to teach people, is don't just take it as gospel, the first thing you see. Do some research. You can use that as the beginning and then start digging. But from that, it looks like Jarvis Cocker from the Pulp, didn't like the fact that when Michael Jackson performs the Earth song, he comes across as a bit like he's trying to portray himself as Jesus, and then he, and because he stands there, he's all wearing all white, and then he has people around him and stuff. But what I would say with that is, if you actually look how impactful his music is, you look at the quality of his music videos and the message he's trying to give out, regardless of whether someone is Christ consciousness or whether they're not, I would say, like me personally, let's say Jesus didn't exist, let's say there was no such Jesus in this world, I don't think Michael Jackson would be a bad alternative. I know that's a big thing for someone to say, of course, but then you think, what are the kind acts that you would do if let's say you was the new coming of Jesus? I'm not saying Michael Jackson was. I'm just saying, take so much offense to someone doing kindness in their life, I find quite barbaric. Like, that's mental. You didn't like the fact that that's what he represents and potentially tries to portray within himself. And yet he takes the weight of his shoulder, persecuted, much like Jesus was, and yet he just continues pushing forward with so much strength. And even though he's actually quite a vulnerable person, if you watch him, he seems so shy. So maybe he's quite introverted in his private life, but he knows people need saving. So he keeps pushing forward. It'd be easy with accusations as serious that he was accused of to hide. He didn't. He didn't hide. So I actually think, he deserved far more respect than he got. He had an awful lot of people cheering him though, so he did have a massive fan base, and I think that's the glorious thing. He was adored. But it's really, I think it's really bad how spiteful the world is that in someone's lifetime, people can be intent on destroying their name, their image, and really doing their best to try to remove them from this world in whatever capacity that is, whether they try tactics to get to remove them themselves or whether they try to instigate that person to take themselves out. It's just monstrous, isn't it? And it's always those who are the kindest. It's always those with the brightest light. And we've lost someone quite magnificent, in my opinion, that can't be replaced. It's like having a rare mineral. People just look at things. See, I see the value of people far more than I see the value of a freaking mineral. I couldn't give a shit about a diamond or a piece of gold. If it's someone's life or money or a mineral that's priceless, you would call. People. Life. What the hell is that supposed to do? That only has value because someone's added value to it. It's just a thing. The world's messed up. The world's messed up. I know some people say, oh, Michael Jackson went because of drugs. I can't remember the exact reason now to his death. But there's so much sinister stuff surrounding it. The fact that no one helped him or there was a delay in helping and all these things. And yeah, I think there's something really underhanded with the whole thing. Because apparently when he was investigated back in 1993, because I've listened to witness accounts, those who actually were questioned. I think even Corey Feldman I watched talk about it just earlier. Where the police, I don't know if it's police, FBI, I think he said FBI, they were questioning Corey Feldman on Michael Jackson. And they wanted him to create a narrative that favors their investigation so they can. So obviously there was an agenda to go after Michael Jackson because he said that. He said they only wanted Michael Jackson. I gave them a list. He said he never did anything, but I can give you a list of people that have molested him, like himself. And they weren't interested in them names, but they only wanted Michael Jackson. So what does that say? I mean, look, the corruption's far more obvious nowadays because we've seen it so many times and it's just in our face now, even with these just moronic governments, like with Trump, and you can see the corruption has spread from him all the way down. It's quite crazy. So now I think it's quite more apparent that we know those things happen, but maybe back in the early 90s it wasn't so obvious. And his whole image has been tainted because there's always going to be people now that don't think he's a kind person. They think there's all these bad thoughts of him. But the evidence doesn't support that at all. And if you actually follow your gut feeling rather than swayed by narratives from the press or from people who have an agenda against him or they've just been coerced, if you actually go from a pure point of view, listen, watch him perform and see how you feel. I'm not saying it based on the music. I'm not saying, oh, yeah, you love the music, you love Michael Jackson. It's not that. I'm saying look at someone because energy doesn't lie. To me, energy doesn't lie. I can sense someone that's bad without having them speak to me. I can look and go, that person's dodgy. That one's pure. I like them. And I like Michael Jackson. So what I'm saying here is I'm someone that does speak for the underdog. I don't care if I'm the only one that speaks up for someone and it makes me a target next. I really couldn't give a shit. I like the underdog winning. And I don't like people being taken advantage of and being bullied. So, for instance, if I was in Michael Jackson's circle, and it's easy for me to say it now, and I get that. I'm just saying this is what my personality is like. I really couldn't give a shit about reputation. I would do that in my lifetime now. So, let's say there's someone who I felt connected to, loyal to, and there was accusations against them, and I know they're not right, they're true. I know that person's character. You can't be 100% with people, but you know their character and you know what they're capable of, but they wouldn't do. And I see so many celebrities are weak as shit. I've seen so many when they've got a supposed friend, and then there's some sort of news article comes out that tarnishes that person and accuses them of something. All of a sudden, that person's got no friends because everybody just cares about saving their own reputation. They don't want to lose their opportunities. If I say something about this person in support, I might lose my contract. I might lose my next gig. It's not my problem. So everyone's self-serving. I'm not like that. so I wouldn't give a shit. Let's say my reputation increased. Let's say I was getting bookings. Let's say things were just picking up. I mean, I'll do it now. Let's be honest. I don't even have to provide. Oh, green thing's going. I don't even have to provide an example of potentially what could happen there. Let's just say I already do it now. I speak on topics before they become popular. I was already attacking Trump, saying how what a dipshit he was. I've done all sorts of it in the political sphere, and in general. And then later on, like give it a few months, even like half a year, I start seeing other people have finally started cluing in themselves because of the pattern of behaviour, and then things start becoming popular. But I talk about things as soon as I feel it. And I've never shied away from that. You don't have to go back through any of my content or even read through my books. I don't shy away from an awkward conversation or an attack on me. I've done it again. Let's go back to when if you go back to the Me Too movement. Yeah, look, women were vulnerable, and I agreed with that. But it goes too far. This feminist movement just goes too far, where all of a sudden every man is an enemy, and it's like, no, this isn't healthy. Or when I've discussed sort of racism, because that shouldn't happen in society either. But there's always going to be one side of a community that feels marginalized. But until people just like let go of the past, no one's ever going to find balance. So if you feel you deserve justice, but your perceived justice is retribution. So effectively, let's say you've suffered and you don't consider that fair, because of course it's unfair, and you feel justice is not for an apology, not for things to be balanced. You need the other parties to suffer too. And that's only the way it's going to be fair. The real problem with that is the other person suffers. Guess what? Now they feel it's unfair. They're suffering. They're going to want retribution. It's a vicious cycle. Until people can just say, look, this has been disgraceful, but we need to draw a line somewhere. That's the only way you can find balance. So when everybody just wants their perceived justice is to have a reaction, it's not going to fix anything. And I've said that in my book as well. So I've mentioned the cancel culture as well, when it was at the height of cancel culture, when anyone that spoke out, even J.K. Rowling, this is probably the best example actually of saying it. Here we go. I didn't even think I'm just firing off because I know exactly what I've done. In my book, Inspire Your Mind to Enlighten Your Soul. Now, it could be Heal Your Mind because they're both just a year apart. I think it was Inspire, but if it might be the other one, people can do their research. I mentioned J.K. Rowling in that book with the cancel culture. And that was at the height of cancel culture when so many people were saying the Harry Potter franchise needs to be taken away from J.K. Rowling, even though she created it. Without her, it wouldn't exist. And it's not for them to decide just because they like it. Unfortunately, that's not how the world works. It's not yours, unfortunately. You enjoy it. You're a fan, but that's as far as it goes. You have no ownership of it at all. You have no say. That's just ridiculous. It's a fantasy. And then, so if you had any opinion that differed from those who get outraged, because it's not the majority, it's never the majority, it's those who are the most vocal. So they create this, they're like martyrs, the way I see it. They're waiting to be out to have an outcry. They're waiting to react. And if it's not that trend, it's another trend. So I've spoke about the cancel culture specifically in the book. Didn't go as far as I wanted because, I think you have to draw a line. I just wanted to make the point. But I did plaster my name, my flag, firmly behind J.K. Rowling. I don't even know J.K. Rowling. But in the book, I literally said, I stand by J.K. Rowling. Everybody has the right to their own opinion on things. And I even spoke about my opinion on transgenders, and I've done plenty of videos in the past about it, and I know it irritated a lot of people because people take things out of context or they're just quick to react. My attitude was, it's all right if you choose I don't care what someone does in their own life, but don't force that ideology onto me. So, for instance, let's say your name's Bill. You decide to have a gender change, and now you want to be called Michelle. And let's say I know you as Bill because I knew you as a man before you decided to be a female. I'm not going to call you Michelle. And I don't care if it offends. You don't get to... This is the thing. It's all right for people to make the rules, but they don't like it when someone else established their own rules for themselves. My attitude is, I already know you this. It's hard for my mind to adapt to the change. It's a weird change for me. It's not something I find comfortable because it's just not natural to me. Any of those words, or the fact that I'm saying it's not natural, the fact that I'm saying I'm not comfortable, would trigger the shit out of someone who wants to be reactive because they're waiting to react. So they just pick up on these words. And I know they do as soon as I speak, but I say it anyway. And I know. So they're going to get annoyed because now they feel like, I'm being I don't know what the word would be now, but it's, discriminated. You're discriminating against me. Where's my human rights? Well, your human rights are the fact, really. If you're going to talk about human, everybody's biologically, you're born with a gender. Whether you enjoy being that gender is really, it's a here or there. That's your gender you're born with. That's the organs you have. It's literally your body. So realistically, if we're going to talk fundamentals and want to go down to like the bare level, a woman is a woman and a man is a man. You can masquerade as something else if you want, but it doesn't change your natural biology, which is what you are. So you can call yourself gender neutral all you like, but some of us would just consider you what you was naturally born, and you might not like it, but that's just how we see it, and that's how I will always be. I'm not saying someone can't do whatever they want to do with their own life, but I'll only see someone from their natural biology, and I don't really care if they take offense to it, because that's just how I see them. Even if maybe you don't say their name in passing, and you just think, I could be calm with people. I'm not trying to say to be rude. It's just that's how I see the world, so I would naturally do it. So even if like you got a man dressed like a woman, for instance, and they think, oh look, they've accepted me as a woman. Not really. I've just accepted you as you. You can dress and wear whatever you want. You can alter your body all you want, but I'm still going to see you as a man. So every time you walk past me, I'm not going to think, oh look at this lady. No, I'm going to think you're a man. But it's like you've changed. You make yourself comfortable. I don't really care how someone's comfortable, but don't force it on me. That's the thing. So when someone forces something on me, an ideology, I get defensive too. And I say, look, you might want the world to be the way you want it to be, but I refuse to let you alter it from my own vision and the way I see it, because this is the experience I'm having. And they don't like it. They want to control everyone. So look, I know it's a bit of a rant, and it's made me look like an arsehole, because it often does. But my point really is, I'm quite opinionated, and I stand my ground, but I'll also stand the ground alongside someone else as well, even if it's just me and them. Because there wasn't many coming to J.K. Rowling's defense. And I have done it publicly, I think in videos as well. If I would have done, I don't hide. I don't hide from any topic. So the point overall there is, if I was old enough to stand alongside Michael Jackson, I would have done. I was just too young. I'm 43 now. I was like Michael Jackson. When the Earth song come out, I was probably 13 or something, I weren't old. I'm 43 now. So a 43 version of me, if Michael Jackson had this been happening with Michael Jackson, my first instinct was that he's safe. And I would have vocally said that. I trust Michael Jackson. Obviously, taken into with the precursor that if any evidence comes out, then of course things can change. But my gut instinct is that, and I'll stand by my own conviction. Anyway, it's just sad that people didn't. I don't know if people did in that time, because again, I was too young to really to really understand deeply all that was going on. And I think at that age, you don't realise how corrupt the news channels are and the broadcasters, and how far it goes up to the ones that powers that be. We're seeing it now with Trump, where he's controlling an awful lot of the people with power, and they're buying other companies out. So there's, like, he's done it with some of these late night talk show hosts where they've lost their jobs for a little suspended, and it was going to get taken away. People started reacting, the public, and they got their jobs back. Then there's talk that some of the news channels are going to get taken over by other companies, or the presenters are going to change around, all to fit Trump's agenda, to put his mind at ease. But that just shows, doesn't it, the power that comes from the top. It doesn't even have to go as far as the president, but the fact that a president can have this much manipulation is for me, is crazy. The other side to that manipulation as well, if you look, Trump's suing the BBC, the UK's BBC, in Florida. It's just been announced next February, so it's 2027. And I find that absolutely baffling. How can it? I don't know the policies and rules, because clearly, but I don't understand how a sitting president can sue anyone during their time with president, because it's just conflict of interest. Surely, he may have sway over the courts, because he may have sway over certain politicians that can influence the judge. So surely any legal, as soon as I saw it, I just thought, wait a minute, surely that should happen when he comes out of office, so it's a fair trial. So if it goes against the BBC, you're naturally just going to think this is corrupt. It's happening in America as opposed to the UK. It's happening in Florida, where Trump has that Mar-a-Lago place, whatever he's got. And it's from my understanding, he's had an awful lot of leeway there, which is probably why he's picked Florida in the first place. So I just think it's dodgy as shit. How the hell does that even happen? I don't want to go on huge rants here. This wasn't even supposed to be long, and I seem to be waking up the longer I talk. And I'll crash as soon as I finish, because I am so tired. I got up, I think it's like nearly 10 p.m. now. I woke up at like 4 a.m. Got up early. So if you think how long you've been awake, it's just quite an extended period, isn't it? It's like, well, I can't even do the maths, I'm tired. But if you do 4 till 10-ish, What are we at? Oh, I'm lost. I can't do it. I can't remember. I'm guessing like 14 hours. Is it 12 hours? 14? I don't really know. But it's mad, isn't it? So that's why I'm tired. uh, but yeah, I think when well, my whole point really is if you think someone is innocent and and you know they can't defend themselves, they can't stand up for themselves or whatever it is, or even if they can, it's not fair. Don't shy away from stepping up. You don't have to follow the crowd with things. You know, I'm not someone that's interested in popularity contests, and I really don't care if the crowd round on me as well. So I could take. That's the difference for me. Because I was thinking that when I was watching Michael Jackson. I'm not trying to be a superhero or anything, but I could. I'm not saying I'm like the physically strongest. I'm not interested in all that shit. As for me, is that I said that, but I've done that. I said that in my book, one of my books. Would you rather be a wizard or a bear? I'm not interested in being a bear. I don't need to be the most physically. I can use my intellect. So from an intellect point of view, and a resilience of my mind, in the fact that my light, the fire in me doesn't get extinguished. Doesn't matter how hard life gets for me. I'll always push on, carry on, pushing. So I watched Michael Jackson, and I got emotional. Like I said at the end of the DVD, because those certain songs come on that I found like quite vulnerable songs. And I looked at Michael Jackson, just how pure he was, how innocent, and how he's been so misunderstood, and the attacks that come against him. And then he dies with all that speculation about his life. So as I was watching him on stage, I just thought, I wish I'd known him, is what I was thinking. I wish I was a similar age to him and I'd known him. Because, that's another way to really truly help. But if I'd known him and we were similar age, I would have loved to have just stood in front of him when he's taking that barrage of abuse from the world. And just let him not take that weight, and I'll answer for it. I'll deal with it. Yeah, I don't know how much support. I just don't know how much support he had in his personal life. And I think some people they're genuinely like vulnerable, but they're angels. I think there's angels that are powerful and they're strong and they can fight, but I think there's some angels that are just pure in kindness. And I think that's what he embodied to me. He was delicate, so he shouldn't have to fight everything on his own. Look, I know with hindsight you can say, I'll do this, I'll do that. But if you actually look at my actions thus far, even through the books and the things I talk about on camera, I don't shy away from a complicated conversation. I don't shy away from going against the grain. I don't do it just to go do it. I just do it because I stand by my convictions. So just like 100 people or 1,000,000 people can have an opinion, I can also have my opinion. And if it's not the same as those opinions, because I'm not sheep and I have original thought, then I'll stand on whatever side I feel is the righteous side to stand. And if it's on my own, yeah. If it's a couple of people, we stand together. But yeah, I just wish people would think more, follow their heart, and not to be so scared to stand by their convictions. Following the crowd, it's not always the best way. You can actually come across like a really stupid and pathetic by the end. And what's the point? Yeah, it was sad watching him perform. I just thought I wish I'd been able to witness him live. But you just, with those sort of things, you just know the inevitable end. I mean, maybe we're seeing it with sad thing is maybe we're seeing it with, I've got Britney Spears' live concert. I haven't watched it yet. Las Vegas. It's one of those things, isn't it? We see people suffering, and you just get used to it. You go numb. But it's almost like we're watching disaster after disaster. And it's usually the media industry, entertainment industry. And what I think is really sad is sometimes it takes someone's passing for people to finally wake up and go, oh, they should never have put up with that. That was disgusting. But then it needs to be spoke about now. We shouldn't be waiting for someone to die. So, but I think with the Michael Jackson thing, it was complicated, of course. We only had so much information. Social media wasn't available back then. And I'm sure, I'd like to think that if social media was available then, and we would have be a bit more clued in. But again, with time, technology advances, we've seen more corruptions unfold. It was the timing, really. But, yeah. Anyway, hopefully this has been coherent because I didn't think it would be, and I'm surprised I've even done 40 minutes. I thought he's going to talk. I thought I was talking for 5 minutes just to say this is what I'm going to be working on. That's 40 minutes. I haven't even addressed it. So where I said one of my next books is going to be Politics Society. I'm going to be talking about the corruption in America, especially politics, government with Trump, this Pam Bondi, and some of the other morons. Some of the UK politics. It's not all political. It's going to be just things that I find disturbing with the world. Things need to be addressed. Things to heal. So yeah, I thought I will probably cover because I haven't decided for sure, but I think I will cover Michael Jackson in it. Obviously the book's not going to be freaking mental big, so I have to try to. I'm going to have to keep it concise. But what I want for whatever topic I'm talking about in the chapters, of course, I want people to come away learning something. So it's just open and broaden people's minds. And I'm going to cite like I've said before. I'm going to cite information. So where I learn something, there'll be a way for people to follow that trail back. But I just want to provide a piece of information about Michael Jackson that I think, with his life and the way I've just spoke there about him, because I think that's important. He's had a legacy that's been tainted, and I want to help repair that legacy. And I'm going to do my best to do it because, like I just said, I stand up for people. Now, I was too young when he was in his prime, unfortunately, and it's just little old me anyway. Obscure in the wilderness. But you never know how long you're in the wilderness, of course. And like I say, I always stand by my convictions. So yeah, I will likely do it because when I feel compelled, I had a few like goosebumps when I was watching his performance when I had certain thoughts, and I feel really, really like his reputation needs to be repaired sooner rather than later. I mean, people need to start seeing the light that he was, and then I think they'll revere him a lot more. And if you see music videos where maybe he is portraying himself as Jesus, it's okay. Maybe he's not Jesus, but I would say he was something special. I think for sure. There was slight misunderstandings. I might do some research on this as well before we finish, just to touch on this, because I know that other people will have their own questions, of course. I was curious as to why did he change his skin tone? Why did he change it? Why was he gone from black man to white? And what was with all the plastic surgeries? Now, I'm only going by what I've seen on Google, and this has not been verified. I've not gone deep, and this is things I will have to delve into if I'm going to uncover and talk about it. But I thought this is interesting because this is where his character is under question, and it's what people do, naturally. If you've got a guy singing a song called Black or White, doesn't matter if you're black or white, and he's changed his skin tone from black to white, it's a bit of a hypocrite, isn't it? It's like, it doesn't make sense. So what I've learned, again, just briefly, and I'm going to have to go deeper than that, but we're just going to talk what I've learned briefly. He had a skin condition where he was getting white blotches or pale blotches on his skin, which was making him feel insecure, and it was happening more and more. So he actually just a lot of time he was using makeup and things to try to blend his skin. So he's doing everything he can to just make his skin like neutral. So because it was getting paler, he was trying to match the pale color. That's what I learned there. And he also had, I think he said lupus. I'm not really sure what that is, but I think he had lesions and things. So again, he was trying to cover up the lesions and the fact that his skin was also adapting to changing color. So he was trying to fix that problem. And also, we do have to understand science improves with time. So back when he was paying for his surgeries and his things, it was obviously at the infancy. So I mean, that's why we probably see his face just completely amalgamated and it didn't look good. But again, I was curious as to that. Why did he butcher his face? He was fine before. You often see that people go too far. But he did say he broke his nose when he was younger, so he had to have nose like rhinoplasty or whatever it was. He had to have things done to his nose, and from there, he created a bit of a self-conscious complex where he wanted to look the best version of himself. So he started having the plastic surgery, and he went too far. There was reports that I have to confirm and verify, but I can only say from what I've seen, he's said he's only had 2 plastic surgery like operations on his nose, nothing else. But there's a lot of surgeons that who are experienced have said no, he's definitely had his cheeks done, he's definitely had his chin done, and he's multiple nose jobs, not just 2. So I mean, look, again, that's things to check up and verify. The other thing I did hear was that his autopsy, so after he died, it was confirmed that he did in fact have that skin condition. So where maybe most of us have grown up thinking, why did he change from black to white? Like, why? I thought he bleached his skin. I don't know. It's a procedure, but they are confirming he did actually have a skin issue, and I don't know why that wasn't widely known then, because he's getting an image tainted that that isn't fair. Because if we'd known the truth, maybe he did tell the truth, and the media just doesn't report it, because there's a bias. And this is the thing: if we don't know all the facts, we can't really have a deep opinion. So we do have to be careful. So it's the way where I say, like, I feel he was innocent. Of course, there's always that potential that they weren't. But the fact that you've had prominent people come out, one especially who's quite vocal, if there is anything bad going on, has actually backed him up completely. That for me has a lot of weight to it. That has a lot of weight to it. So anyway, it's unfortunate. I think what we got to do is learn from the past. Don't wait for another tragedy to happen. It's just standing amongst a big crowd doesn't make you big. Doesn't make you popular. Doesn't make you strong. It makes you a minion. Now, if those people are right and they're accurate and whatnot, then fine. You're part of the mass. A bit like where you say, you could be on the good side of that because like the people like Trump and that, you're on the good side because you're against what they're doing with their corruption. But let's say someone's being attacked and they're vulnerable and they're innocent. It's not brave to be on the side that's doing the attacking. It's incredibly weak. It's easy to gang up on people, isn't it? It's a lot harder to stand by your convictions if you stand toe to toe with someone against a wave of onslaught. But if people should be doing the righteous thing. So if you see someone suffering, it's like, don't ridicule and laugh. Think about what got them there. Like I say, when we see Brittany, this situation, we've seen it with Amanda Bynes as well. These are people that have suffered some period of their life through trauma, and they've had trouble adjusting to normal civilized life, unfortunately. But yeah, anyway, the world is quite a bad place, to be totally honest, and it requires some thick skin to navigate it. But I mean, with me, I don't think a bit me. I don't put up with crap, and I really don't care about popularity contests. And I don't care about status and rank. So with me, I'm a bit more, I think, quite thick-skinned in the sense that I really couldn't give a shit what someone's got to say about me. If it's not true, couldn't care less. If it's true, I'll hold my hands up. But I'm not even embarrassed. That's the thing. So like, you couldn't, even if someone said something about me and it's like, oh, it doesn't look too good. Okay. I forgot about that, or this, that was like maybe an older version of me, I don't know. I haven't done anything bad in my life, but maybe there's one incident or two incidents. Maybe there's an odd incident, maybe in your personal life, maybe you had an argument with someone. I don't know. Stories can always come out. If something's happened, I'll say, yeah, I did that. Okay, maybe I don't look too good right now, but I'll always have honor and integrity. Because the thing is, the people that come at you and the people that accuse people of things, they always act righteous. But if you go and peer into their life, they do the same thing or they do more. It's a bit like where you get, I don't want to deviate too far, but you get religious people, and I'm going to piss off the religious people now. You get religious people who would say that they're devout Christians. They go to church and you think, oh yeah, we're keeping up, we're all part of a community. We all like love each other. We're all this and we're all like fair and balanced and we never do anything bad. We follow the Bible. We follow everything, religiously. But then at home, they're abusive. They're toxic. They're distant. They're everything, they're opposite of what they actually preach. But they hide behind the Bible. And we see it time and time again. So, yeah, the world is a sketchy place. But the point is, you could look at someone's opinion of you and it could make you feel invalid. But that's really from a flawed perspective because most people have things they've done and no one's perfect. So maybe someone pulls you up on something and it's just like, okay. And you're acting like you're perfect, but you've probably done things to yourself. Or maybe you going home. Let's say you've had an argument with your partner and it's all taken out of context. But maybe you said something that was a bit out of hand in a moment, heat of a moment. Or maybe you get angry and you just, I don't know. Maybe I've got like my iPod. You just throw that across the room. You're not hurting anyone. You're just taking your anger out. A bit like this Johnny Depp thing. I don't want to go too deep there. But again, I will do actually because I think it's important to talk about it once we stand up for it. I was on Johnny Depp's side throughout the Amber Heard thing. Amber Heard reminded me of my ex, to be honest. So I was seeing through so much. And I was just listening. Of course, if I thought Johnny Depp at any point was lying, if he was the perpetrator, I'm not someone that would just stay, I'm open-minded. I didn't see him do anything wrong. The only times like you could say his character is in question was times when he maybe got angry. But he never got physically violent with Amber from what I witnessed. He always took it out either on himself or just the furniture and things. Okay, maybe it makes a hostile environment, but that's the worst it was. She was never in harm's way. And yet she's done things where she's literally attacked him multiple times. So, so you can taint someone's character and say, oh, they're this and they're that. Yeah, okay. But what do you do in your private life? Do you have an argument with your partner? How far does that extend? How spiteful do you get with that? What false accusation do you make against them? So that's what I'm saying. Like people act like they're quick to judge someone, but they're flawed in their own life. But they forget that because they consider themselves perfect, especially when they're questioning someone else. They think the sun shines out their ass, and it's like no. Everyone's done something. I've got a video of me in the car. Like I'm transparent. Back in 2012, I think maybe 2012, and I was driving the car, and the clutch was breaking. We didn't have a lot of money, and it's just driving me crazy. So I was moaning. I was like swearing in the car, like really furious, like pissed off with this car. And in the wrong context, I could look like an absolute unhinged lunatic, but it weren't. It was just in that moment I was freaking pissed off with this car. But again, you take it out of context, you can easily paint me or whatever. It's like, yeah, okay, I had an angry moment. I'm far more calm now because I've matured. But that was my point. You could take an older version of someone, you could look bad. We mature with age, well, you should. Anyway, like I say, if that was thrown in front of me, I'd just laugh. Yeah, I did that. Yeah. What are you trying to get out of it? Like, what are you trying to tell me about it that I don't already know? And then it's like, because people take things out of context. And I could have just not said that, couldn't I? Because no one's even seen that video. It's my video. It's not even a big deal. But it's like, yeah, okay. I've had moments too. God damn. We're not perfect. Holy shit. Yeah, it just makes you laugh. There's people that have never had an argument in their life. There's people that have never vented their anger. There's people that have never been frustrated. Oh, my, kiss my ass. Of course people have. It'd be stupid. And that's my thing. It's just, I hate people that pretend the sun shines out their ass when it's like, come on, be realistic. And then if you be realistic with yourself, be realistic with other people. Like for me, Johnny Depp was completely innocent, and I see so many people still say he isn't, and it's like, oh my God, you're deluded. I watched every single one of those trials. From when it was on, I just sat there religiously just watching it. I wasn't watching highlights. I watched it as it happened. Of course, anybody have their own opinion, but that was mental. What he had to put up with and have to listen to, it's like, Jesus, yeah. Like, I've been accused of false shit myself, and I've documented it in my books, so I knew where he was coming from, and it's just outrageous when you come up against it, and how spiteful people are when they want something. They want some specific result. Some people go to the end of the earth for it, and they don't care how much they bury you for it. Witnessed it myself. A nice place to be, but you ride the wave. I mean, look at me. I've climbed out of that. Look at Johnny Depp. So when that finished, he was touring. He was literally singing with people, going touring and just sightseeing and stuff. But he was like even performing on stage and things, getting back to his life. And that's the real victory, isn't it? But it's strange how fast people jump on the bandwagon, though. So an accusation gets made, and people are sometimes quick to judge. So there have been people that had said as soon as Johnny Depp was accused of domestic abuse, there'll be people that just immediately said, I don't like Johnny Depp. Distancing myself from that, no way. Because to some people, women, I'm not trying to be sexist here, but in that situation, there's some people just think, nah, women are always innocent. But the funny thing with these gender biases, again, I talk about topics. The funny thing about gender bias is when it's to do with a certain situation, certain genders will stick together. I mean, guys will do it too. But yet, when there's not that battle going on, they sabotage each other. And again, both genders. There's guys that put other guys down. They'll be ridiculed and they bully them. But then when there's another problem, they'll all of a sudden, oh, we will, all us guys stick together. We're all perfect. You're all assholes half the time. And it's the same with the women. They get jealous of each other. They try and sabotage. Let's say you've got a boyfriend and it's going well. And let's say the other person's either single or their relationship's shit. All of a sudden, they want you to break up with your boyfriend. So as soon as there's even a slight issue, they'll just tell you all the things that are bad. You shouldn't be putting up with that. They'll plant this seed in your head that you shouldn't stay there. It's not good for you. All because it just serves their purpose, not yours. They exaggerate it to the point where now you're questioning things. And that's just one part of society. But then think about that. And then like in general, like women will say, oh, we'll stick together. You stick together when it appeases you. And it's not a gender thing because it's the whole way through. But that's just how susceptible people are, So yeah, there's victims everywhere, isn't there? But I think it's important that we speak up for those who we feel are innocent.